Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, committee members. We will be accepting the amendments from committee. We are presenting ACA 4, the Housing Opportunities Made Equal Act. Homelessness and housing availability and affordability is one of the most pressing issues facing Californians today. This ACA would increase and stabilize funding for affordable housing in California. Simply put, the state of California has failed its residents in ensuring affordable, stable, and healthy housing. And it's time for us to deliver on the basic functions of a state, which is the health and welfare of its citizens. With me today is Eric Vasquez from EAH Housing and Mimi Khalili from AG Global Solutions.
Thank you, Assembly Member, and good afternoon, and good to see you again, Chair Lee and the committee members. My name is Eric Vasquez, the Education Advocacy and Government Affairs Associate at EAH Housing. For nearly 6 decades, EAH has been one of the most leading and reputable affordable housing developers across the West Coast, with over 25,000 units in both California and the state of Hawaii. We're here today in proud support of the HOPE Act, along here with our colleague and dear friend, Assemblymember Dr. Corey Jackson. For us, and to be frank, I look at our slogan at EAH, a roof is just the beginning, but for us, it's more than just that, it's a promise. We see the affordable housing crisis for what it is, and we understand that these unprecedented levels of homelessness is something that fundamentally needs to be addressed in this state. That's why we wholeheartedly believe that the HOPE Act is the path forward that we need to unlock thousands of new units for our affordable housing production, but also to continue to bring in more funding to the homeless solutions and services that we provide on our sites. With that, too, dedicating a 5% minimum from the state's general fund is something that we have been advocating for and have wanted to see in our industry. We operate all across the state. We develop and we manage senior, family, veteran, and most importantly, permanent supportive housing solutions that remain affordable in perpetuity. The HOPE Act for us is the strongest and most viable path that we can have right now to alleviate this crisis. EAH doesn't see this as just a temporary fix. We see this as the long-term structural solution that we need for our unhoused populations. And with that, on behalf of EAH staff and our residents, we strongly urge your support for the HOPE Act today.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness, please.
Hello, good morning, Chair. Well, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for having me. My name is Mimi Khalili. I'm with AG Global Solutions. I will try to make this brief. I want to start with something often overlooked. Poverty is not just a statistic. It is a weight that distorts every aspect of a person's life. I've lived through that. For years, we lived on people's good graces where they were available, moving every year. And my story is not unique. It is a story of thousands of Californians who carry the invisible burden of poverty every single day. Housing is the root of so much of this. And I'm just going to skip over some of this because we're trying to get through this quickly. It breaks down community. I've seen firsthand how families are pushed further from jobs, spending hours on buses or in traffic, how children fall behind in school when they change district mid-year because rent went up again, how neighborhoods lose their cohesion when people are forced to leave. Investing in affordable housing doesn't just address a crisis, it reduces long-term costs across the state budget. When people are stably housed, they are healthier, their children perform better in school, and interactions with the emergency services and criminal justice system decrease, freeing up public dollars and improving outcomes across the board. ACA is a solution we desperately need. It creates stable funding. And this measure isn't about just producing more units. It's about restoring dignity and stability. It's about ensuring that kids like I don't have to feel like they don't matter. that seniors aren't facing homelessness for the first time in their lives, that working families don't have to move out of California just to find a place they can afford. This is about justice, and this is our only chance this year to deliver it at the scale that matches the crisis. And this is the bill that can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have members of the public who should testify in support of the bill? Please come to the microphone. All right. Do we have any opposition to this bill? Please come forward. Any members of the public who wish to testify in opposition to the bill? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee for questions, comments, motions. Similar to Tangipa.
So how much on average do we spend a year on homelessness in the state of California?
Probably a little over $1 billion.
What would 5% of the general fund budget be to be spent on homelessness?
As much as up to $10 billion.
$10 billion a year. So when I was reading that for the past 5 years, we spent $36 billion on homelessness, and an audit was just done in the LA area that realized that it hasn't solved anything. Do we believe that more money is the solution?
Yes, actually, something to realize is this, is that the amount of money that we have done is actually making progress compared to the huge hole we've dug ourselves in as a state. So we've actually slowed down homelessness every year. The problem is that we haven't stopped homelessness at this point because we need even more investments. The data does suggest what we're doing is working to slow the bleeding. The reason why we need more is that we do not have enough housing stock, nor do we have the type of housing stock without all the different rules of how you can qualify for that housing. And so your question is, will more money help? Yes. Has our current expenditures worked? It has worked. But to a certain extent, because we don't have enough funding right now to that, we've been touting that we've been spending about just on affordable housing, $1 billion every year. What we're not telling people is that we need $5 to $8 billion every year to get out of the hole we have had that has accumulated over the decades.
See, and I fundamentally disagree with that because of the track record that has been shown. $36 billion, and now we have a homeless population of 180,000 people or more. And there's data out there that shows that we have 50% of the nation's homeless population in the state of California. And this is very personal to me as well. In 2016, I ended up homeless, and I was sleeping on my teammate's couch as I was working, trying to get an education and level the playing field. And I just had some amazing friends that took me in while I was still fighting. And so I understand. I just don't believe that this is the solution, is to double down on what's not working with more money. I think the goal is actually to get government out of the way. I've worked at the local level with supervisors to help build what we call affordable housing, but at $450,000 a door on an apartment complex isn't affordable at all. That our goal, and maybe it's something that we can work together in the future, to cut the cost and the cost of government, empower people at the local level to build the housing that is needed and push that there, because what the current path that we're going down right now, the data shows the direction is swinging, it's not working, and I don't believe that more money is the solution on this, and I will be a no vote on this one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But the data does suggest that it actually is working. Now, the data you're probably looking at are the programs that we experimented with that didn't have the type of outcomes we were hoping to have. And so we're not doubling down on the programs that have not worked. What we are doubling down on is the programs that we have worked based upon the data, the most recent data. And what I mean by the most recent data, like last year. So we now know, given the data, which programs work and which programs don't work. But to say that none of them work is just simply not true. Now, what we also know is this. For the last few decades, we have been relying on local governments to do what they're supposed to do and doing adequate housing. They have failed in that. And so what you have seen, what you would have saw last year and what you continue to see this year is a whole host of bills to get streamlined processes, because we know the huge cost is based upon how long it takes for housing to be done. I'm carrying bills. Many members are carrying bills to cut out that process and to limit the amount of lawsuits and all those things that have exacerbated the length of time, which is adding to the cost. But the idea is that if we, as a state, do not clear the way, not just regulation, but in the funding of affordable housing, then we are simply not going to do what we need to do. And it'll be a policy decision to keep people on the streets. And so this says no more excuses. All hands on deck. It's time to deliver for the people that are in your district and my district.
All right, very well. Any other questions or comments from members? Oh, Vice Chair Castillo, do you have a
comment?
Okay.
I just want to start by thanking the author for the intention of this bill.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have worked with the homeless, you know, as a therapist for the county of Riverside. So I have worked with the homeless. So, and I saw, you know, the programs. I worked in those programs, and I saw a lot of money being put into programs that didn't help that many people. And I can tell you, in one program I was in a 10-month period, only one person was helped. And that was because I stood side by side with that person out of 100 people. So I don't, more money being put into programs when there's already programs that exist, I just can't grasp that. So, you know, I just can't support it right now.
Yeah.
But thank you.
In this committee, we are focusing on the homeless programs. But yesterday, we were in a housing committee that really talked about the overwhelming majority of this money is actually going to build housing, right? And the idea is that if there's plenty of housing, then we don't have to worry about those programs to see, number one, are they meeting this criteria, right? There's different definitions for permanent supportive housing, transitional housing, emergency shelters. All of those, and many of those are federal guidelines, which means there are still guidelines on the book, many of them federal, that are actually keeping people homeless because of the stringent requirements. We're saying, let's just build enough housing for everybody and forget about the requirements. Let's just get people in housing so that they can be on a path to thrive.
Assemblymember Rodriguez.
I'd like to move the bill.
Well, first, I'd just like to thank the author for bringing this constitutional amendment forward. You know, of course, as I said yesterday, too proud to be a co-author on this, but housing and homelessness remain one of the top quality of life and economic issues in this state of California, yet we allocate probably like 1% of our budget realistically to this issue. And of course, as we're seeing with the proposed budget, the governor has slashed many of the programs that provide for the creation of new housing opportunities so that people can have homes. And I firmly believe that the solution to homelessness is homes. It's very simple in that sense. I would, of course, encourage my colleagues to read the excellent analysis starting on page 5. It talks about historically since 2019, how much we've invested into homelessness. And mind you, this is a recent phenomenon because historically we have depended on local governments to take on the task of solving housing and homelessness, though some counties and cities do it better than others, but I would argue that if we leave it all to your cities and counties alone, the problem can only get worse. I don't think the problem will get any better if we have less money dedicated to it. We have to have more services and more good people that are standing shoulder to shoulder with people who are unhoused to get those services. And if we have more resources to do that, we have the ability to do that. Defunding all those things, you get the entire opposite. So that's why I'm really proud that you're carrying this measure and proud to be a co-author, and I'm recommending a strong aye vote. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
File item 2, ACA 4. The motion is be adopted as amended to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Lee?
Aye.
Lee, aye. Castillo? No. Castillo, no. Calderon? El-Houari? Aye. El-Houari, aye. Jackson?
Aye.
Jackson, aye. Rodriguez? Aye. Rodriguez, aye. Tongapaw? No. Tongapaw, no.
4-2, that bill is out. Congratulations.